Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sow and Serve. I'm your host, Sophie, and today we have a very sweet guest. Here, she is our National FFA Central Region Vice President. How are you, Claire?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for inviting me on, Sophie. We have a guest. There's Trey in the background. Yeah, super excited to be here and to join you on your podcast today.
Thank you for joining.
Yes.
What I like to do with every guest is have some rapid fire questions. So, number one, what is one word to describe your year as a national officer so far?
I'm going to say fulfilling because the first few months of our year as national officers, we were spending a lot of time together, like doing a lot of trainings and moving in and just experiencing a lot of things together. And that was so fulfilling to grow those relationships with my teammates. And now we're like all out on the road and don't get to see each other very often. But on the road time has been so fulfilling as well because we're doing what we love, getting to interact with FFA members and advisors and supporters. And so every single moment of it has just been so fulfilling. That's a great question.
I love that. That's so sweet.
Yes.
What is your favorite song? This could be like a hype song, or like, what's your favorite song?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I have to tell you, I was not expecting that kind of question today. My favorite song is I Hope You Dance by Leanne Wambach. Just because I think that there's so much more meaning in it of just like we don't always feel like we can go out and do things, but I hope you dance anyways. Like I hope you just choose to go do it. So it's not really a hype up song, but that's definitely my favorite song.
I haven't heard of that one. I'm gonna have to give that one a listen.
Oh yeah, it's good. It's good.
So what is? I know this one might be a hard one to answer, but what is your funniest FFA memory?
My funniest FFA memory. Okay, so when I was a state officer in Nebraska, there's this time where we have like rec time out in like this little area. And I was in charge of the like canoes and like the kayaks, that's what they're called. I was in charge of the kayaks. So like I would help students into the kayaks and like make sure they were good to go and like kind of like monitor everybody that was out on the water. And oh, I'll never forget this. I felt so bad, but it was so funny. There was this one FFA member and she was getting in the kayak and she was like, "No, I'm good. Like, I don't need help. I got it." And she flips over in the water. And oh, at the time I felt so bad, but like looking back on it, oh, it was so funny. And she was like, "No, I'm okay. I'm okay." And I'm like, "You should probably go change." Oh, wow. We had a lot of laughs over that. The rest of my state officer year, we just were like, you know what? We're really not in that bad of a situation. We could be tipped over in a kayak right now, but we're not. So
That sounds like a blast.
it was crazy.
So what I love to ask people, because everybody has to know like a different story how they started in FFA. So how did your FFA journey begin? And like talk about your chapter days. Why did you become passionate for FFA?
Yeah, I love it. So I kind of like to consider my experience and my journey into FFA as a legacy. So I was kind of one of those people that my grandpa was in FFA and my dad was in FFA. The time that my grandpa was in it, it wasn't like super strong or anything. But when my dad was in it, he applied for Nebraska FFA state office. And because of like some other things happening in his life at that time, he wasn't elected. I knew that it was really important to him. And so when I was in seventh grade, like there was no doubt in my mind of if I was going to join FFA. My chapter began in 2012, so that's when we were chartered, and so it's like a super new chapter. And my older brother was actually in high school at that time, and like I remember being this like a young little sister that tags along to all of her big brother's events. And I was at their chapter banquet, like one of the first ones, and he was receiving his blue jacket for the first time. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is actually kind of cool. Like I have no idea what this means, but it looks kind of fun." And so yeah, never a doubt in my mind when I got into seventh grade of if I was going to join an ag class or join an FFA. Because in my high school we took like my high school is very, very small. So the junior high is with the high school. And we took ag classes as junior high members, and yeah, we were technically FFA members in eighth grade, I think is when I got my green hand degree. My chapter is super small. I graduated with a class of 7 people. And so just like my high school is tiny in general, and my My chapter was tiny, and so we were a really tight knit group. Something that was pretty unique about my experience in FFA and in ag class in high school was that I had four different ag teachers from my seventh grade year to my senior year. And so, because we were in such a rural area, a lot of the teachers like didn't want to stay, like they needed to go somewhere that had more opportunities or that their family was closer to. And like that makes total sense, right? But it was really unique as a student seeing so many different teachers. And so that definitely gave me a lot of like the leadership that I had going into like applying to be a state officer. So yeah, that's a little bit about my home chapter.
That's so cool. It sounds like a really cool chapter.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
definitely unique.
Yeah, I thought I came from a small town, but no. Like 7 people? Oh, wow. I would probably get so tired of them.
It was interesting seeing the same people all day, every day, all the time.
Did you ever imagine becoming a national officer? Like, was that something you were like achieving for the whole time? Or when did you realize you wanted to run for national office?
I was really lucky to have a lot of unique connections with national officers when I was in high school. And so I had always looked up to them as like people and as who they were and just the opportunity that they had to serve. And so I always thought, like in the back of my mind, oh, that would be really cool to do something like that. And then I remember a lot of times when we were traveling as a state officer team, there would be a lot of people that would ask us, like, who's going to apply for national office? And I was always kind of like, let's just get through this year. Like, we'll see what happens. But it was really a conversation with my mom of like what do I seriously what do I do? Do I apply to be the national officer candidate or do I just go on with my life? Um and of course like we had to think about both. We had to talk about both and my mom was like, "Well, what if you don't apply?" And I just like remember like this feeling, like literally my heart was breaking. And I told her that. I was like, "Well, it just breaks my heart like not to apply." And she was like, "Okay, well, like then like that's what you should do." And so ended up applying and yeah, now we're here.
I love that.
Gotta love the combos with the moms. Always keeping it real. Yes.
So, what is your SAE and how has it shaped you today?
hmm my SAE, so I grew up on a cattle ranch in Nebraska. We raise primarily crossbred beef cattle. And surprisingly enough, that was not my supervised agricultural experience because my dad was like kind of the head honcho of all of that. And it would have been a lot of work to try to get him like to sit down and actually talk through things and be like, okay, is Claire going to take some cattle? Like, could this be my SAE? So another project that my family and I had was chickens. And so my dad raised chickens and my siblings and I, we would do chores all the time. And so that became my supervised agricultural experience. And then in Nebraska, we have this store, which is very similar to a tractor supply called Baumgars. And so I worked there and I was a cashier. So I had two primary SAEs, one of chickens and one of being a cashier. And I think that that helped me, like that grew me into the person that I am because I was terrified to be a cashier. Like, I don't know if you have experience like working in retail or if anybody listening has experience working in retail, but it is definitely a unique situation to be in. And so I think that it definitely helped me start up conversations with people and like just to talk to the customers and like ask them about their day and to not be afraid to do something like that.
I love that. You have traveled a whole bunch since October and you've been out on the road. What has been one of the most memorable moments for you so far?
hmm That's a good question. One of the most recent ones that I experienced was when I was in the Massachusetts and the state of Massachusetts at their state convention. And Massachusetts is quite different than Nebraska, both like their agriculture, like their commodities and things, but also just like FFA. And their membership is much smaller than Nebraska's. And so their state convention was much smaller. And I kind of just like subconsciously had this mindset of like that it was going to be really small and all this and that. And in a way, it almost like diminished how powerful that week and that experience was for that students, like without me even knowing it. Like I kind of felt that way. And they only had 4 state officers, and so I was really lucky. I got to be a part of their opening ceremonies with them, and they like played this really cool video before we started opening ceremonies. And I just remember watching this video, and like the music was playing, and it was the theme from Top Gun, like the Top Gun anthem. So it's like all music, and it was super loud. And I was just remember like looking around at all the students in this ballroom and thinking like, wow, like this is really important to them. Like this week, like it's just super like a turning point in their FFA experience. Like some of them are literally wearing the blue jacket for the last time. Some of them could be wearing it for the first time. And so I just like I had a moment of humility of like, wow, I really need to make sure that I am like making this as big of a deal as it is, because it's a state convention is a state convention and every state is unique in their way. But it was just a super cool experience that I got to share with those students of this is so like impactful for them and I get to be a part of it. And so that was just like one of the most memorable moments that I hope to carry with me the rest of my life.
Because I love learning how about each state association is so different,
Yes. Yeah, everyone is so unique.
and we're all connected through the jacket.
Yes, just one big family. Oh, that's so good.
How many state conventions have you been to so far?
Just two. So I went to Nebraska's the end of March and Massachusetts right after that. So
So, what is your favorite dance?
my favorite dance at state conventions, I really like the church clap is always a classic. Like it gets everybody hyped up. I love fishing in the dark too, but it would probably be the cha-cha slide, like the one that's like to the right, and like stomp. Yeah. I think that one's one of my favorites. But I'm also a big fan of swing dancing too.
I always see people swing dancing. I'm like, oh, I can do that, but no.
It is hard. You have to have somebody that knows what they're doing in order to swing dance.
So I talked with Lily about 3 weeks ago, and we discussed y'all's trip in January. Y'all went to see the FFJ.
Yes.
How was your experience over there like?
It was like a life-changing experience for me. One of my favorite moments was just seeing how passionate students are in that country because we went to the Tokyo Metropolitan School and it was their school farm. And we showed up there and like there were students all around and they were like waving us, big smiles on their face, just like so excited for us to come in. And we did this presentation in a classroom. But the best part of it was when we like walked outside and we got to see what the students were like working on and what they were growing and everything. And the first thing that we saw was them making mochi. And so I don't know if Lily talked to you about mochi, but it's like a rice, it's like a really thick rice, not like even like a rice pudding, it's like a paste almost. Kind of. Japanese people love it, okay? And they only make this stuff 2 times a year. And so, like, as soon as I learned that, I was like, "Wow, you saved one of your times to make this mochi for, like, when we were here," and that was so special. And how they do it is they have this huge wooden bowl and then a huge wooden, like, mallet, and you have to hit it and then, like, flip it and turn it almost like you're kneading bread. And so we made it and like we got to be a part of like the hitting the dough. And the students, they had like this paper written out in English of like the description of what they were doing and what it was. And like again, I just had a humbling moment of wow, we came all this way and like these students are like they learned English and they learned all this stuff and they're speaking it in front of us and that might be like really scary for them to do. Like we think about getting on a podcast and talking with somebody or giving a speech in front of a couple people, but like they learned English just for us to come there and for them to tell us about their projects and what they're doing. And that was just so sweet. And then on that same trip, right after we saw the mochi and got to make it, we went like down to this other little place and they were growing a very unique breed or like variety of wasabi, like one of the only places in the world that it is grown. and it's like all natural spring water. And like, again, the students like learned English and like got to tell us about it. And we were very lucky to have a translator that was with us all week. And like, we just had so many questions because we're like, wow, you guys like actually grow this. And it was so cool. And we were asking so many questions back and forth, and you could just see the students like light up when we would ask a question because they were just so excited to tell us all about their like what they were growing and how passionate about it they were. So it reminded me that agriculture connects us all, like all across the country. No matter if you're growing wasabi at your school farm, or you're working at a feedlot, or you're like harvesting corn or wheat, whatever it may be, like agriculture connects us. And that was so beautiful to see that we still have that passion for feeding the world all the way across the world. It was just such a cool moment.
I bet that was awesome to see. It sounds really
Yes.
awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
I love how passionate they were.
Hmm. Yeah. I wish I could live it again, like to just see how excited they got. Yeah.
So what's a fun fact about Nebraska? About Nebraska FFA?
Okay, Nebraska FA.
Do y'all have something different that other associations don't, or
Okay, yes. So we have a specific speaking event called cooperative speaking. And so in Nebraska, our agriculture is heavily run through like cooperatives. And so like farmer owned cooperatives, and like the marketing of the commodities back and forth. And so like members just, I think it's 6 to 8 minutes of a speech, and you just write it about whatever you want about cooperatives. And so I actually did this competition my sophomore year of high school. And my mom works for a milk marketing cooperative. And so I talked a lot about that and like specific careers within that cooperative. And I was very fortunate enough to win that contest that year as at the state competition. And so that was really fun. So that's a unique one that we have. Another LDE that we have that's different is an ag demonstration. I know that some states have it. Massachusetts also has it, but it's like, I think 12 minutes, and it's a team, and you just talk about whatever you're passionate about and want to teach people. So I think it's really cool. I think if there's any way that we could add another contest on the national level, that would be one that I would add because it gets a lot of the hands-on students that are really involved in like the classroom more involved in FFA. So yeah, I guess those are some unique ones. I forget about those.
those are pretty neat. So how do you take care of yourself while traveling? You know, you're busy all year long with national office. How do you take care of yourself while you're still
Mm.
showing up for you?
Yeah, I'm actually still learning this.
Yeah,
I'm not going to like give you something that I have all figured out, because it definitely is this weird balance of, do I stay up till midnight hanging out with FFA members, or do I um, go to bed earlier? Do I go call my mom, talk to my teammates? And so something that has been big for me is to like block off my mornings and like to really make sure that I have a good morning, even if it's just like the hour and a half that I spend getting ready. It's like very rarely do I hit the snooze button. And so it's just like making sure that I'm being intentional with how I spend my time, and that I'm waking up when my alarm goes off, and I'm starting the day with a devotional or a gratitude, or even calling my family as I'm curling my hair, putting on my makeup, getting my day started with good music. So my workshop this year that I travel around with is about our cups. And so like our energy cups and how they're filled and how they're spilled. And so it's definitely very fitting to my life right now. I need to make sure that my cup is being filled so that I can show up with a full cup with FFA members and just with everybody. And so I guess those are a few things that I do. I try to make sure that my mornings are like non-negotiable. Like I need some alone time in the mornings. So yeah.
that's great. Okay, so one of our last questions is, have you ever had to leave when you didn't feel ready, and what did you do to overcome that?
I'm going to take it back to kind of what I talked about a little earlier with my ag teachers. Like I said, I had a lot of different ag teachers, and I'll be honest, it was difficult to have that switch all of the time and have that like back and forth changing a lot. It was my junior year of high school. And so, like, the end of my senior year, one of my ag teachers decided to move closer to home. And we were very scared. Like, we didn't know if we were going to get anyone to fill the position. My family and I talked seriously about transferring schools for the last 2 years of high school just so that I could be involved in FFA. And we were lucky enough. We got somebody hired, but she was not an FFA in high school. She did not have her ag ed endorsement. She was a science teacher, knew nothing about like AET, nothing about like the competitions. And so it was a really unique opportunity that I had to step up and to lead my peers and the younger students in my chapter through like those kind of things, and also in a way lead my ag teacher through some of those things and kind of teach her a little bit about AET, what I knew as a junior in high school. And it kind of showed me that I was capable of doing more than I thought I was. Sometimes I think as high school students, we can like just try to push things off to other people that are more knowledgeable or smarter. And so I always felt like I wanted the seniors to lead, right? Because they were older, or the upperclassmen to lead because they were wiser. But sometimes that's not always the case. And I think that we are presented opportunities at the right time and at the right place, and so it's up to us to take those opportunities and what we're really going to do with it. And so like that experience my junior year of getting to help the ag teacher and getting to help my fellow classmates definitely propelled me into wanting to serve as a state officer because of how I got to help everybody else in my chapter. So it was a really difficult time in my life that turned into a really fruitful time in my life.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yes, of course, Sophie. Thank you so much for inviting me.